The Peaky Blinders Season 1 came out in the year 2013 and stars the likes of Cillian Murphy, Paul Anderson, Helen McCrory, Sophie Rundle, Joe Cole, Annabelle Wallis, Sam Neill and Charlie Creed Miles, just to name a few. This series starts off after World War I and starts in Birmingham, where we are introduced to the title of the series, Peaky Blinders, as we are introduced to the Shelby family, who go by the name Peaky Blinders as their gang. As we see Tommy, the leader of the Peaky Blinders, and you also see the likes of John and Arthur, which I saw are understudies, but are the sort of the mean guys, the guys that are going to go and do the business, break legs, and do anything for the fucking family and business. And we also meet Helen McCrory's character, which is Aunt Polly, who is sort of like the guidance for the family and helps lead the business to success in different ventures and stuff, as she's the main treasurer for the betting shop in which they're trying to expand within this series. However, the main plot of this series is the missing guns and missing armoury that has been taken and been stolen by a gang in Birmingham, as Winston Churchill has tracked them down to Birmingham, and he's hired one of the best inspectors coming down from Ireland, Inspector Campbell, to come and sort this problem out. And Inspector Campbell basically has the inkling that it's the Peaky Blinders. However, as it turns out, the Peaky Blinders actually did steal them. However, it was by mistake, and they might use this as a bit of leverage to sway the coppers like they have been doing previously, using bribes and things like this to get more things they want. But will they be successful? What I liked about the Peaky Blinders is the main plot angle, as we see in the main plot angle that the weapons have actually been stolen, these big military weapons, in which Winston Churchill has sent down a main inspector down from Ireland to deal with this problem, as these weapons could get into the wrong hands and basically call a mass war again. And the inspector is sent down and obviously interrogates the likes of Arthur to see if he knows anything about these weapons. However, Inspector thinks that Arthur is the leader, until he realises that Arthur isn't the smart one. Unfortunately not. It is Tommy, and Tommy is the main guy instigating this, and he's basically the only one that knows about the weapons, as the less people that knows about the weapons will be in less sort of fucking jeopardy from knowing information that, you know, could leak out and basically all the family getting arrested. So it's a smart move by Tommy, I guess. However, after several toyings around, several deals between him and Tommy, after finding out that Tommy is the main guy of the Peaky Blinders and probably is the guy behind the weapon heist, they then sort of get into this war of sort of going, well, why don't we make this deal and our family's fine, you can fuck off. And he's like, okay, why don't we make this deal and you can do this and you can do that, and then everything's cushy. But as it all turns out, they're just trying to fuck each other over. However, this whole basically comes to an end when Grace finds out that the weapons are actually in one of the dead people's grave. And if we're not introduced to Grace yet, if I've not mentioned her already, Grace is the inspector's side project, if you like. She's a undercover cop at the garrison, and just in case his plan doesn't work of plan A, he's got plan B of her working at the garrison, trying to get information out of the likes of Tommy and Arthur Shelby, who she's trying to figure out who the weak link is and trying to get information out. And obviously she gets attached to Tommy, but Tommy's like got a good poker face. Even though she falls in love with Tommy, she doesn't get the information she really wants out of Tommy. And so when she starts working under the Shelby family, in which own the pub, also known as Arthur, she finds out that, oh shit, the weapons are under Danny's grave, who Danny, if many people don't know, is a dead guy that dies in the episode 1 after being shot in the head, after, you know, he's basically shipped off to London. And you might be like, how can he be shipped off to London if he's dead? But well, guess what? He's not dead, and if you've watched the show, you'll understand that Danny is in fact well alive and working for the Peaky Blinders up in London, and he comes back at the end of, you know, the series and pops up throughout the series, but basically gets killed in the end episode. So really should have died in the first episode. More into that later on. So after the weapon fucking around, basically Grace wants to resign and basically fall in love with Tommy. However, the inspector's got different plans as he proposes to her, like, I fucking love you and all that shit. And she basically goes, no, fuck you. You've made me do all these horrible things to a nice family. Even though these family are gangsters and shit like that, but she does not give a flying fucking rolling donut. Hence why she tries getting on a train to leave after basically fucking over two sides of the fence as the Shelby family realise that they're being screwed over by Grace, who could potentially hand information to the police, in which was the guns, because she made a deal with the inspector to say, leave Tommy and his family alone if I can just fuck off and, you know, resign. So that's basically what happens. And when she tries walking off to go on the train and go fuck off elsewhere, we hear a gunshot and, oh shit, someone's gonna die. And that's where it goes on to season 2. I also like the little side plots in this series, as it wasn't just the main plot we were looking at. We're looking at several different things mixed into this big series, like you always see with different shows, where there's a little side plot here and a little side plot here. So we'll just go into a few. The communist angle is very interesting, but we're not going to go into further detail. The next side angle is with Mr. Kimber. And he is a main figure throughout this series, as we see him also in Tommy's plans of growing his business and his betting shop to something better, as Mr. Kimber gets involved with Tommy Shelby after he's seen fixing races, as he's giving the horses all the shit to either make them run quicker or fucking slow down and all this stuff. And so he's fixing races, and it doesn't really build up to much, that, and the Kimber thing's growing and growing throughout the series, obviously building up to their gang battle at the end. But this jumps in between because Tommy basically wants to use Mr. Kimber as a sort of partner in the race course, as he says he can offer protection for the Lee family attacking, you know, the race course and things like that, and taking money. However, Tommy's like, we can give you security, we can help fight off the Lee family alongside you. However, Tommy also wants to fuck him over so that he's more money for himself. And when he tries the Kimber thing and it doesn't quite pay off, he then decides to go John, his younger brother, and goes, know how you want to marry that prostitute? Forget about her. You're going to go marry one of these people from the Lee's family. They're basically one of the leaders of the Lee family to go, and then we're sorted, and we've got a nice relationship with the Lee family and the Peaky Blinders, and we're going to go after you, you fucking prick. And that's basically what happens. And then he tries double-crossing Kimber, in which doesn't work out the way he wanted to. We weren't expecting that, as he wanted this big ambush at this place going and all his men being there. However, he was outnumbered because he did not expect the surprise attack by Kimber, who knew Tommy was going to double cross. And either way, Peaky Blinders come out on top, as the Peaky Blinders are able to fend off the Kimber's gang, as basically there's not much of a big battle at the end. It's basically like, it is like, right, we're not going to kill anyone. She just parked her car in the middle because there's going to be somebody who's going to become a widow or something like that. And then eventually Kimber's like, ah, fuck that, and shoots Tommy. Then he shoots Danny. Danny gets killed. Tommy gets back up and then pops him right in the fucking head. And that is it with a Kimber storyline. I also like Tommy and Grace's relationship / character building within this series, as we see the start of something that echoes into several of the series, and this was really, really good. As at the start they weren't really liking each other. Tommy thought she was a bit talkative and a bit sort of why she weren't imitated by him, in which would have been the thing back then of basically the women bowing down to the men, especially when this guy is so powerful, and she wasn't really fazed by him. And he sort of liked that a little bit. He didn't like it at first, but then he grew to like it, as he then eventually, after playing hardball with her a bit, he then goes, actually, you're coming to the racecourse with me, as I sort of like you a little bit, as you're a bit stubborn and such in your ways, and you don't get imitated by me, so I'm going to take you. So he ends up fucking out on a dress and shit, and then going to the racecourse. And he then talking to Kimber, in which we've already talked about. They were trying to make a deal at the time, and Tommy gives grace to Kimber to go, yeah, do what you want with, basically, as he treated her like an item. However, after Kimber tried to rape Grace, he was like, whoa. He stormed in and realised what a bad thing he'd done, as it was quite unethical for him to treat her like that after she'd treated him quite nice in that retrospect, as it seemed like there were good character building there, and he basically stormed in and stopped it happening by just making up a daft story that she had gonorrhea and that he was trying to protect him as the business partners and shit, and just made up a daft story. And their partnership sort of grows from there, and their sort of relationship grows from there, as it's sort of that sort of, you change your mind because you actually like me now, and that was the main thing for me. And obviously we see growth throughout the series, but we then see the disappointment at the end where she has to leave because she's tried fucking over basically the Shelby family, and that's how it is seen. But she then goes away, and then we'll see if she comes back in season 2, but I guarantee she's in series 2, and it's a really cool little relationship they have together, and there's a lot more where that came from in the season 2 review. I also really want to quickly touch, I know this video has probably been going on a while, but I also want to talk about how cool the PTSD angle was. The post-traumatic stress angle was amazing. As this series, you've got to remember, followed World War One, and people would have been distressed, suffering with a lot of mental health issues around this time, and it was great to get into. As we saw the likes of Danny's character in the first episode suffering with PTSD as he gets confused between normal life and him being back in World War One in the trenches, being shot at, and that's why he ended up, potentially being killed, or made to be killed off, because he's going mental and that he's still stuck in World War One. And we also see throughout the series, and not just this show, not just this first series, but the whole show in general, the PTSD angle with the Shelbys, as we see Arthur goes off the little bit of the rails a little bit as he tries killing himself due to him not being able to outpower his father, but that is probably all down to the World War One thing as well, impacting him, and we see him basically break down a lot later down in the show, in which we'll get down to in other reviews. We also see the likes of Tommy Shelby, suffering with a little bit of it, because the war changed him. You can clearly see the war changed Tommy, as beforehand he was probably a normal kid, a normal person who was part of a gypsy family and part of a great family in Birmingham. However, the war changed him into this killer warrior-like figure who is also sort of this soldier captain, basically, who's going to go in and lead the line and go in there and fucking be the man. And he did that from knowing that at war, he was the guy. He was, turned into this soldier and would do anything for his country and would help lead his men out to battle. I also want to quickly mention how good the director was. Stephen Knight, cracking. His vision was amplified all the way through this show, and I loved it to bits. And I also want to give a big up to the cast, as they were phenomenal. Just to run through a couple of names if I can remember them: Cillian Murphy, the likes of Paul Anderson, Helen McCrory, Sophie Rundle, also the likes of Joe Cole, Annabelle Wallis, Sam Neill and Charlie Creed Miles. A few little rounds up here. I really enjoyed Sam Neill's character. He played an incredible villain, as we covered him in a few of the Jurassic movies, and he was incredible as a good guy. However, here he plays a sort of bad guy in The View, and he was incredible. I also want to point out Cillian Murphy, as he was absolutely phenomenal, and people kept on going on about him, and I was like, what's so good about him? Then I watched the show, I was like, mate, he's fucking mint. And then I kept watching the show, and then you learn how good the likes of Paul Anderson are as well as Arthur, and it was like, mind fucking blown here. There was so many great talents, but those are the key ones for me in this series. So to summarise this BBC drama, Series 1 of the Peaky Blinders, this is one of my favourite Series 1s of any show, and I must admit, that when people were mentioning it, I was like, this is going to be absolute crap. This is going to be overrated as fuck. And I was proven wrong. I was like, oh shit, Cillian Murphy's amazing. Paul Anderson's fucking cool. And everybody else is so fucking great. And I cannot diss this. And I've been praising it ever since, like going, you should watch the show. And they acted the same way I did. And I wish they knew how good the fucking show was. Hence why I rate this series an 8.6 and a classic series. Let me know down in the comments down below whether you agree or disagree with anything I've said in this video. Also, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content this channel creates, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Later.